Welcome to a little video that I want to do on my lightweight hunting kit, and I'll give you a bit of context as to why I sort of went into going a little bit more lightweight. Was because I did a tops hunting trip with my dad, and we were getting flown into the tops of the Tararua, so central North Island, and well, central lower North Island. And we just had it in our head that, you know, we're going to get flown just easy as right to the hut, no problem. So we had all sorts of stuff, milk, whatever, you name it. We had the whole lot in our packs, big full packs. To be honest, not very fit as well. But anyway, as we were flying in, it clagged in, and the helicopter driver said, you know, do you guys know where you are? We said, yeah, no, we're all good. Just we don't want to come out and then miss out, have to come in the next morning. We wanted to be hunting that morning because it was fine, good weather. So we said, just drop us right here, and we'd never been in that area, so we didn't really know it that well. And we said, yeah, we'll just walk to the hut. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon, windy as, foggy as, way too much gear, and yeah, we didn't realise it was still a long way to the hut. So I believe it was about a 4-hour walk, something like that, 3.5, 4-hour walk still to the hut. But we were just overloaded, and I mean, we were dropping the milk and dropping water. We even were tempted to drop the bags, some of the bags, and maybe a rifle and leave it there. But looking back, I thought it could have actually gone quite wrong. You know, one of us nearly had a tumble, and even in the last couple of months before that, a guy actually died up there, getting blown off the tops. So the track wasn't very good. So that made me think about the topic of weight, because it was the weight that was killing us while we were walking. So what I want to do, I'm not going to do a lot of editing on this video, it's just going to be a bit rambly, but I'm going to go over a few of the things that I changed. What I'll do is I'll start with clothing, because I think this is one where a lot of hunters, they just tend to just go to the hunting shop, you know, you're hunting and fishing or whatever you want to call it, wherever you want to go, and just think that because it's camo or it's this or it's made for hunting, that it's, you know, it's really good, it's really going to work for them, and it's going to be the best lightweight durable option. But I actually don't find that's the case. So I'll start with my base layers. Obviously I just wear merino for a base layer. I usually take depending on the trip, so this video will be kind of more for your 3 seasons, overnighter, possibly maybe a multi-day, but not a big, you know, 6 to 10 day trip. Winter, it's nothing like that. Probably 90% of your hunters with this kit would do you fine. So take some merino, I take 1 pair of leggings, possibly 2 if it's a multi-day trip, and then I take 3 tops. If it's an overnight, I obviously only take 1, and I'll take a merino t-shirt as well, which if it's a bit colder I'll sleep in that. So definitely want merino for your base layer. I definitely think that. Now for your mid layer, I know that a lot of the hunting clothing manufacturers offer you like a polyester mid layer or your fleeces and things like that. I personally would try and stay away from that stuff because it's very sweaty and it doesn't actually keep you that warm. So what I do is go to MacPack. This would be seriously my winter mid layer, 3 season mid layer. It's just a puffer jacket, a light, like it's so light. I think it's under 300 grams, and it's really, really warm. And when you don't use it for hunting, you can wear it to the pub. It's maybe not the pub, but it's all good to wear. So I'll use that as an underlayer. You're probably thinking like, yeah, but they rip. Yep, they do, but what I'll do is just chuck a t-shirt over the top. If it's obviously a long sleeve t-shirt for something like this, just to protect it. And that can be a camo, whatever, breathable, really, really thin t-shirt, and that's fine. And then I also have this, just a vest, weighs 170 grams, and if it's really cold, I'll combine those 2 jackets together, and that gives me a nice, I don't have this big bush coat or anything like that. That basically, the minute you start walking up a hill, you hate it and want to get it off because you sweat like crazy. But I think the power of down, I just don't know where the little jacket is. Not the jacket, the stuff sack. The cool thing with down is the type of warmth you get out of it is a lot higher quality. And then as well is when you want to put it away, it literally packs, it packs tiny. So I know a lot of the trampers really love it, but us hunters, because we think, well, that's tramping gear, we don't want to wear that. It's actually a lot better to wear, and there's a reason why all the trampers and hikers are wearing it. It's because it is just a lot better in every single way. So you'll find that your merino doesn't actually sweat as badly because the stuff breathes as well. So yeah, I always take my vest, even in summer. If I go up to the tops and it's a bit windy, and I sit down to glass, I'll just throw that underneath my t-shirt or my top, and I find it just keeps the chill off me. It's very good. So in terms of so that's kind of clothing. I just use Hunter's Element, just a shell basically. I don't buy any. So these are the halo pants. So I don't buy any jackets that have got like warm stuff built into them, because I find you just end up hating them, taking them off, overheating. So I just get basically a waterproof shell, and that's all I really wear. They're way lighter. So those pants there are 280 grams, jacket's a little bit more. So you've just got a shell to basically protect you, because when push comes to shove, if it's really, really crappy and you sort of don't really go out in it anyway, if you're stuck out in it, it's good to have something light to chuck over. Merino neck gaiter thing, I'll take a couple of merino hats, one for sleeping in, one just to get the chill off my head if it's cold. So that's pretty much clothing for me. You can go into socks and all that sort of stuff, but I think that's pretty straightforward. I take a pair of merino socks for sleeping, and then I just use boot socks and then keep trying to dry those out. One piece of kit that I really found as well, like I always used to drag jandals or Crocs around with me. These do look ridiculous around camp, but these are actually duck down booties. So they weigh 38 grams each, and they pack down to like that, and you just chuck them on, wear them in your sleeping bag if you want. If you want to go out and get firewood, they got little, like, I don't know what the base is. It's not down, it's protected, so they're a little bit slippery, but I wouldn't recommend trying to walk up the hill in them. But hey, for around camp, they're really, really nice. Keep your feet nice and toasty warm. So that's what I do for clothing, and I find that it just keeps everything a lot lighter, and you still actually achieve a nicer warmth out of the down while you're protecting it, while you're running around through the bush. Yeah, so what I'll do is, while we're on the topic of down, I'll talk about my sleeping quilt here, because I used to walk around with a massive sleeping bag, and now I don't. So this is a UGQ outdoor quilt that I actually had custom made in the US, and this thing, I've taken it down to about -3 degrees just with a foam pad, and it is just phenomenal. Like, it only weighs 460 grams. So when I mean by quilt, it's not actually a sleeping bag. So if I show you on this way, you've got, that material doesn't actually zip up around you. So you sort of got half a sleeping bag, because basically you lie on your sleeping bag and you squash that down insulation flat, so it literally isn't working on your back anyway. So they've come up with a quilt. They call it a quilt, so you can use it as a blanket in summer. So you don't need 2 sleeping bags. So yeah, 470 grams, rated for -6 degrees. That's pretty cool, I think. You can clip it to your sleeping pad, and yeah, it just works. It works really well, and it's not actually that expensive compared to a lot of the stuff that's coming out in the shops in New Zealand. So that was $400 odd. It's handmade, and yeah, it's really neat. I think it's really good. So obviously, if I was going to go into sort of a snowy area, that probably wouldn't cut it, but I call it a 3 seasons sleeping bag for me, and if I have to put a bag liner in it, I can do that as well. But yeah, it's just, and it compacts, because it's not, you've got less material because it's a quilt. It just compresses down so much smaller. It actually compresses down to about 1 litre, so half a milk bottle, or a 2 litre milk bottle. And yeah, it's amazing. It's like it's not even in your bag. So that's all the sleeping bag. In terms of sleeping pad, I use a sleeping pad. This one's rated down to -9, and I believe it's 340 grams, and it's a big, and I can't remember what it is actually. I'll put all the links below. This is a really good bit of kit. I never used to use one. I used a foam pad until I realised I couldn't actually sleep well at night. Went for that. It's nice and thick. Pretty tough as well. One thing I was quite worried about was how tough it is. So that's the one piece of kit that I really like to use to lie on, because I know that with my quilt and my pad, I know I'm pretty snug down to probably about -5. I'd start getting a bit uncomfortable, which is pretty cold. So one thing I do use in the summer is I do use a Sea to Summit ultralight hammock. This is probably given me the most comfortable sleep out of everything, and that comes with these ropes as well. So hammock's 155 grams, suspension straps or the ropes, which they're really nice to use, 170 grams. And if I know it's going to be a fine night, I will always take a tiny little fly. Whoops. Like a tiny little tarp. This is actually just a Chinese knockoff, but I tested it in the shower because it's a good place to test it, and it's actually pretty waterproof. So that weighs 170 grams, and then I take a few guy ropes and different, thin little ropes, and it works really well. I'll always take it just in case the weather's wrong, and yeah, it's not huge. It's only 3.2 meters by 1.5, so it just works for a hammock. But yeah, another reason I love the hammock in the summer is you have a seat, so you're not lying on the ground. Yeah, you've got a seat. If it's warm enough, you don't necessarily need to take anything for underneath the hammock. If it's a bit cold, I can take my mat and chuck that in there. It's alright, works alright. But then I've also got a bigger fly. This is a DD hammock super light tarp. I don't actually like this. I think for the money it's not really worth it, so I'm actually probably going to get rid of it. And I'm going to go for a Dyneema custom made tarp out of Canada, I believe. So this puppy here, they say it weighs 460 grams. But once it gets wet a couple of times, it's like probably, I find even if I dry it out, it doesn't ever come back to 460 grams. And so it's a sil poly tarp, and I don't like it at all, because every time it gets wet, it expands and goes, it's like saggy, but whatever. 500 grams ish. You can have yourself, it's big, so no, it's not big, it's a 3x3, 3x3, so yeah, that's that kind of kit. The Dyneema tarp that I have got coming is a 3x3, and it weighs 130 grams, and apparently it's actually quite a bit stronger than the Dyneema sil poly or sil nylon fabrics. So I'd really recommend, if you're going to go for a tarp, I would spend, they're like $400, but they are very, very light and very, very good. So that's kind of the sleeping kit that I use. I want to be as light as possible, but as well, if I know that I'm going to get a bit of crappy weather coming through, that I can try and stay as dry as possible. I used to use a bivy bag and found that I wasn't a fan of the suffocation, so I got rid of that as well. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend a bivy bag, and a tent is just simply too heavy. And where I hunt for an overnight camp, I don't want to spend an hour looking for a flat piece of ground to try and pitch my tent perfectly. Like, I can see the attraction of a tent, but for me, I just want to have something that I can just, swing the hammock, chuck the fly over, make a camp, get some rest, get up in the morning and keep hunting. So that's why I use this kind of kit. As for food, I definitely use the backcountry, not exclusively, but I'll definitely use the backcountry for my dinners. And I find them, they are expensive, I guess, depending on how often you go out. So I've got desserts because I never take them, because I never go through that much food when I go hunting anyway. So yeah, backcountry is really good. So you get, usually 120, 150 grams as your dinner, and you just add warm water. So I find them just really stress-free. Just add hot water, and then just wait for 10 minutes and then chow down the food. It's done. So these are really good. I really like them. So I'll go in terms of food and cooking. I'll go over what I usually bring. Even on a multi-day hunt, I'll just bring one of these puppies. It's just a little, and I found, how many ounces of gas is it? I can't remember. I think it's 200 grams-ish. Oh, here. Well, 100 grams of gas plus the can weight. So I found these go fine for multi-day anyway. Overnighters, I'll get 3 or 4 overnighters out of them easily, and I do cook quite a bit. In terms of cooker, I use, might surprise people, but cooking is one of those things that if you can't cook, it's not really the end of the world, because you can cold eat. So I use a BRS, which these are so cheap, but basically this is a BRS, like an ultralight Chinese-made stove, and it's titanium and it just cranks. And I used to I compared it to an MSR ultralight, and I couldn't really find the difference. So I've really lost one of these, but they're only $20. I'm just packing up in the dark to get out, first light on your spot. I just sometimes leave. I'll come home with the case, but no cooker. So they're really, really good. It weighs I believe it's 17 grams or something ridiculous, and it's fantastic. So in terms of a cup, what I do is chuck all my gear in there. I've got smaller aluminium, what do you call these, tins that actually fit nicely in there. I've just got a really light 50 gram Cedar Summit cup. Smash the coffees back and the teas in that. This is a Toke's titanium 450ml billy. So I know some people would treat this as a cup, but basically my system is I'll boil my water, drop everything into my cup, so I keep this clean, boil my water, drop that into the backcountry, keep this clean. Works really, really well for overnighters. Then what I do is in the morning I'll often have oats, just because they're quite light and filling. They feel filling. So take oats, I'll boil the water and chuck it in my cup with my oats. And then for lunch I always eat pasta. I don't know why, they're $1 a bag, so bacon pasta, and I'll simmer that in there. And for an overnight, I know that's my final my final cook for the day. So what I'll do is get it out, boil my water, make the coffee, boil it again, simmer the pasta, and chuck a bit of oil in the bottom of it, so I know that doesn't actually stick to the bottom. That's me. This weighs 70 grams. It's a really good little lightweight setup. It does get a bit awkward when you have people with you who are like, oh, can I borrow some water? And it's like, sorry mate, I've only got 400 mils of water, so it's not like a jet boil pack where you can just boil as much water as you need. Then in terms of cutlery, I got a titanium spork, works fine, like another 8 grams I think. Yeah, so that's my food. In terms of snacks and things, I'll just take high protein, low weight stuff, a lot of chocolate, nuts as well, cashews, things like that. And then I just pretty much eat fruit. Yeah, fruit non-stop. That's what I do. I've got these little tins that weigh 4 grams or 5 grams or something. Put all my milk powders, coffee, tea in different tins that are all labelled. So my cashews even go in here and they sit in my side pocket so I can munch on them all day. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just some random bits of kit that I changed. I'll leave the hunting stuff out for now, go over that a bit later, but I do take a charger pack with me. So this is, depending on how many days I go, but I always take it actually. It's 200 grams, but I've got all my headlight cable for charging my headlamp, my iPhone cable, I've got camera cables, the Rode video mics, all the cables are in here, and I know that I can charge my phone 5 times off that thing. It's a good quality one. It's a Belkin? I don't know. There you go. One of those, so that's really handy. I also have had it a few times where, other guys are using topo maps on their phone and it actually kills their phone really quick, so we just keep topping them up. So yeah, definitely a good piece of kit to have. So I think that's basically. Now I'll go over my pack as well and why I do this. So I've got two of these packs. These are just from Kathmandu, and I believe it's called a no wacky or something like that. I actually got this one second hand, and this is my, oh here it is, yeah, no wacky. This is a 32 litre pack, and I use that for my overnighters. I find that I can definitely fit everything in, and then I have a Hunter's Element meat pack as well. So I can actually separate things, which, that's actually really good. It's quite waterproof. So I can actually sling that on the outside of the pack again, because it's 40 litres of meat, and it works really, really well. So there's a reason, I know a lot of hunters, if you're wanting to go lightweight, I would say don't go to the hunting packs. I know they're all nice and camouflage and they'll match your clothing and all that sort of thing. If you don't care, then go for it. But these have the same weight, pretty much the same weight ratings, plus or minus a few kilos. And like this pack here is under a kilo for a 32 litre. So it doesn't have a rifle scarab. I plan to make one up on the pack. But for an overnighter, is it necessary? I don't really think so. But it's got everything. It's got, your rangefinder pocket, phone pocket, breathable mesh back, and I find that the quality overall is actually just fine. And I couldn't really find many packs, something like that. I think I got that second hand for $70. You can buy them new for about 150, I think. So I've got that 32, and I've actually got a 55 as well, and that's my multi-day thing. I find as well, if you're a lot of the camo packs, a lot of them are over 2 kilos, which is just ridiculous. So if you're really, really concerned about how you look, go for a camo one. if you're not caring about the weight too much. But I mean, if you think about it from a hunting perspective, people are going to see you with a bright red pack on, whatever. The deer aren't, because they're usually looking at this side of you, not the back of you usually. So I find that those packs are really comfy. I've had other hunting packs and I just end up selling them because they're just so heavy for the comfort that I really prefer those. So that's what I do, 32 and a 50. And then I've got, that would be, I don't really do day hunts, it's a bit too far for me to go. But if I do, I'll just take, I've got a very lightweight bum bag, that's all I take. So to go over a couple of other things I'll take is, a boar snake, quite light, you don't need a full cleaning kit. Just a very basic knife sharpener, weighs 35 grams. Always take a lighter, obviously, for checking wind and camp stuff. In terms of binoculars, I used to have big 10 by 40 or 50 binoculars that weighed 700 or 800 grams. And I actually found, I bought these are 8 by 32s, and I found that the amount of light that I was gathering compared to my other Bushnells, it wasn't really worth worrying about. So went down to those. Those are like under 500 grams, little bino case thing. Yep, it's not a big sort of Defender military style whatever with all the pockets and all that, but mate, it just weighs 40-50 grams compared to 200 to 400 like the other ones. So I'm actually carrying, those other ones, it's like carrying 2 sets of binoculars. So I find that works well for me. I find that if I go hunting with guys who are, have big flash binos, it's not really the binoculars that are finding the deer, it's the well-trained eye anyway. So there's no issues there. Little headlamp. The headlamp itself weighs 50 or 60 grams. It's an Army Tech. I love this thing. It's fantastic. But with a battery, it's a bit heavier. Another thing I culled out was the flash roaring horn went to a vacuum cleaner pipe because it was 100 and some, I can't remember, it was 120 or 130 grams lighter than the commercially produced one. So, and it makes the same noise. So there you go, vacuum cleaner pipe. So I think a lot of guys don't consider, if they're really wanting to go lightweight, you're going to have to probably get rid of a bit of comfort. But as well, even from that trip that I talked about with the helicopter, getting choppered in and things like that, I had a big 7mm Rem mag, full-on suppressor, big Vortex 6-24 scope. It was a Remington 700. It was big, heavy. I found carrying it around, I was like, okay, it's not that great to carry. And so I even did little tests like this. So I've got same weight bullet loaded in a 7mm Rem mag. It's got 31 grams there, same weight bullet. You got 27. I know it's not a big deal, but if you take 10 rounds and you're carrying, it's just carrying an extra, say 6 or 7 grams, whatever caliber you want to go for. This is a 284 Winchester, so it's kind of a medium caliber, but weighing the 6.5 Creedmoor, you're carrying an extra sort of 300 grams just in bullets. And then you start to think, well, is having that extra 200 yards of legs really, really worth it? Plus the big heavy long action rifle and all that sort of thing. So now I only carry short action rifles and just using Leupold scopes just to shave where I can without spending a stupid amount of money. But yeah, in terms of camera as well, I use a Sony RX100 with just little microphone kit and a very lightweight. It's actually a selfie stick on a tripod, but it's all quite adjustable and only weighs 180 grams. So I find that it has a kilo rating on it. So that works really well, and I can use it with multiple options. So if a guy's taking a long range shot, I can take this cap off my binoculars and actually wind that onto my tripod as well and spot with a hands-free system, or I can zoom the camera into the deer. So I try and tie as much as I can in together with each other to keep my weight down, so I'm not carrying like a kilo tripod around and things like that. So all up, I usually sit around between 10 and 11 kilos for an overnight hunt, and it's about 13 for a couple of days. And I find that, it's just a lot more manageable to get up the hills. So I know it was a bit waffly, but I hope you enjoyed it, and if you got any questions, whatever, just sing out and I'll see if I can answer them. I'll try and put as many product links in there for you guys to just look at, because we're always trying to make our gear better and to get us further into those hills. Cool, thank you.